Commander Sarah Chun stared through the viewport of her rescue ship at the massive alien vessel floating dead in space. The Zephyrian flagship looked like a giant crystal that had been shattered and put back together wrong. Deep scars ran across its blue surface where plasma weapons had burned through the hull. "Status report," Sarah said to her pilot. "Lieutenant Martinez. No life signs detected from their outer sections, Commander. But the central core is still powered. Someone might still be alive in there." Sarah nodded. 3 days ago, the Zephyrian Empire had stopped all communication with Earth. Their ships had gone silent across the galaxy. Then this morning, long-range sensors picked up the flagship, drifting near the edge of human space. Something terrible had happened. "Take us in slowly," Sarah ordered. "And keep the weapons ready. We don't know what we're walking into." The two ships had been enemies for over 50 years. Millions had died in their wars. But 6 months ago, Queen Veltereth had surprised everyone by asking for peace. The fighting stopped, and both sides began talking about working together. Many people on both sides didn't like it. Sarah's ship docked with the Zephyrian vessel. The airlock hissed as it connected. She checked her weapon and breathing gear one more time. "Stay with the ship," she told Martinez. "If something happens to me, get back to Earth and warn them." "Commander, maybe I should come with you." "No, the Zephyrians are dangerous to touch. Their skin can kill us with electricity. If this is a trap, I don't want to lose both of us." Sarah stepped through the airlock into the alien ship. The corridors were dark, except for emergency lights that cast strange blue shadows on the walls. The air felt thick and smelled like burning metal. Her boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor as she moved deeper into the ship. Bodies lay everywhere. Zephyrian guards in their silver armor were scattered across the hallways. Their tall, thin forms were twisted in pain. Their blue skin, normally bright with electrical patterns, was now dull and gray. Sarah had never seen so many dead aliens in one place. "What happened here?" she whispered to herself. She followed the main corridor toward the center of the ship. That's where the Queen would be, in her throne room. The emergency lights got dimmer as Sarah went deeper. She had to use her flashlight to see clearly. More bodies filled the next corridor. These weren't killed by human weapons. The burns and wounds looked like they came from Zephyrian plasma rifles. Sarah's stomach felt sick as she realized what this meant. The aliens had killed each other. The doors to the throne room were massive and made of the same blue crystal as the ship's hull. They stood half open. Sarah could see lights flickering inside. She took a deep breath and stepped through. The throne room was huge, with a high ceiling that disappeared into darkness. In the center, on a raised platform, sat a chair that looked like it was carved from a single piece of blue ice. And in that chair was Queen Veltar. Sarah had only seen pictures of the Zephyrian Queen before. In those images, she had looked powerful and dangerous. Her tall form was covered in flowing robes that moved like water. Electric patterns danced across her blue skin like living lightning. Her eyes were silver and seemed to see everything. Now the Queen looked broken. Her robes were torn and burned. Dark blue blood pooled beneath her chair and dripped onto the floor. The electrical patterns on her skin flickered weakly like dying stars. Her silver eyes were dim with pain. "Human." The Queen's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah could hear the words through her translator device. "You should not be here." Sarah walked closer, her boots splashing in the blue blood. "Your Majesty, what happened? Who did this to you?" The Queen tried to lift her head to look at Sarah better. The effort seemed to cause her great pain. "My own people. The military leaders. They did not want peace with humans. We need to get you medical help," Sarah said. She reached for her emergency medical kit. "No." The Queen's voice became stronger for a moment. Human, you must not handle me. My people's touch brings death. Even dying, I am dangerous to you. Sarah stopped walking. She knew about the Zephyrian bioelectric defense system. Every human soldier learned about it in training. Touch a Zephyrian, and their skin would send electricity through your body. Your heart would stop beating in seconds. But looking at the Queen now, bleeding and alone, Sarah felt something strange. She felt sorry for her enemy. "Tell me what happened," Sarah said, kneeling down a safe distance from the throne. The Queen's breathing was shallow and quick. The generals planned this for weeks. They said that peace talks made me weak. They said humans could not be trusted. They wanted to kill me and blame your people for it. Sarah's blood went cold. They want to start the war again. Yes, and they have already begun. My loyal ships are being destroyed across the galaxy. They think all humans are part of the plan to kill me. Soon they will attack your colonies. How many ships? Which colonies? The Queen closed her eyes. I do not have much time. The information is in my personal data core, but only I can access it. When I die, it dies with me. Sarah looked around the throne room. Dead guards lay everywhere. Their weapons were scattered on the floor. Some still sparked with energy. This had been a battle, not an execution. "You fought them," Sarah said. "I tried, but there were too many, and they were my own people. I trusted them." The Queen's voice was full of sadness. "I wanted to learn from humans, to understand how you work together, how you trust each other. Now I will never know." Sarah stood up. Her mind was racing. If the Queen died, the information about the attacks would die with her. Millions of humans in the colonies would be defenseless. And the Zephyrians would think humans had murdered their Queen. The war would be worse than ever. "Your Majesty," Sarah said, "I'm not going to let you die." The Queen opened her silver eyes and stared at Sarah. "Human, you cannot help me. You dare not touch me. Save yourself. Warn your people." But Sarah was already pulling out her medical scanner, her mind working on a problem that seemed impossible to solve. Sarah ran her medical scanner over the Queen from a safe distance. The device beeped and showed readings she had never seen before. Zephyrian biology was completely different from human biology. The Queen's body temperature was dropping fast. Her electrical field was becoming weaker, but it was still strong enough to kill. "The scan shows you're losing too much blood," Sarah said, "and your electrical system is failing." Queen Veltareth tried to laugh, but it came out as a weak cough. "Human medicine cannot help me. Our bodies are too different. Even our doctors need special tools to treat us without being killed." Sarah looked at her basic medical kit. It had bandages, pain medicine, and simple tools for treating human injuries. Nothing that could help an alien queen who could kill her with a touch. "What about your ship's medical bay?" Sarah asked. "Destroyed. The generals made sure of that first. They wanted me to die slowly." The Queen's voice was getting weaker. "Human, listen to me. In 10 minutes, maybe 15, I will be dead. You must get the information from my data core before then. How do I access it?" "You cannot. It needs my touch, my electrical pattern. When I die, it will lock forever." Sarah felt frustrated. She was a soldier, trained to solve problems and complete missions. But this problem seemed impossible. She couldn't touch the Queen without dying. She couldn't save the Queen with human medicine. And she couldn't get the vital information without the Queen's help. "There has to be another way," Sarah muttered. "There is not." The Queen closed her eyes again. "I am sorry, human. I wanted peace between our people. I thought if we could learn from each other, both species could become stronger. But my generals saw only weakness in cooperation." Sarah started pacing back and forth in front of the throne. Her boots splashed in the blue blood. She was thinking fast, the way she did during battle when everything went wrong. "Tell me about your electrical system," she said. "What? How does it work? What powers it?" The queen opened her eyes and looked confused. "Why does that matter? Just tell me, please." The queen was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke slowly, as if explaining to a child. "Our hearts pump blood like yours, but our blood carries electrical energy through our bodies. It flows through special organs under our skin. When we are touched, these organs release all their energy at once." Sarah nodded. "So it's like a biological battery." I do not understand that word." "A power source. Something that stores electricity." "Yes, like that." Sarah knelt down and opened her kit wider. She pulled out everything inside and spread it on the floor. Bandages, antiseptic, pain injectors, emergency medicine, a small laser for cutting, and her personal tools. "What are you doing?" the queen asked. "Trying to think like a human," Sarah said. She also had her plasma torch from her belt, her communication device, and the emergency repair kit from her ship. "Humans are good at fixing things that shouldn't work. You cannot fix me, human, and you should not try. If you touch me, you will die. Then both of us will be dead, and your colonies will still be destroyed." But Sarah wasn't listening. She was remembering her training, not just as a soldier, but as an engineer. Before the war, she had fixed machines and electrical systems. She understood how electricity worked. "Your electrical organs are failing," she said. "That's why you're dying. The wounds are too deep. They damaged the organs." Sarah stood up and walked to the nearest dead guard. She was careful not to touch the body, but she could see the Zephyrian armor up close. It was made of a special material that conducted electricity safely. The guards could touch each other because of their armor. "How long would these gloves protect me?" Sarah asked, pointing at the guard's hands. The queen looked confused. "What are you thinking? If I wore the armor, could I touch you safely? For a few seconds, maybe? But the armor is powered by the wearer's electrical field. A human cannot power it." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at her plasma torch. It was a small device, but it generated a lot of electrical energy to cut through metal. What if I could power it differently? "Human, even if you could touch me safely, you do not know how to heal my people. Your medicine will not work on me." "Maybe not human medicine," Sarah said. "But what if I could stop the bleeding first? Keep you alive long enough to figure out the rest?" The queen stared at Sarah with her dim silver eyes. "You would risk your life for me? We were enemies 6 months ago. My people killed millions of yours." Sarah looked back at her. 6 months ago, you could have destroyed Earth. Your ships were stronger, your weapons better. Instead, you asked for peace. You stopped a war that would have killed billions. I stopped it because I was tired of fighting. Maybe. Or maybe you stopped it because you're a good leader who cares about her people. Either way, I'm not going to watch you die when I might be able to help." The queen was quiet for a long time. Blue blood continued to drip from her wounds onto the floor. Her breathing was getting weaker. "There is something else," she finally said. "Something I have not told you." "What?" "The generals did not just want to kill me. They wanted to capture a human alive. They planned to torture information from a human prisoner and then display the body as proof that humans murdered me." Sarah felt cold. "They were going to frame humanity for your death." "Yes, and they knew humans would come looking for my ship. They expected a rescue mission. This could be a trap." "It could be, but it is not." The generals underestimated how quickly I would die from my wounds. They planned to be here when the humans arrived, but they left too soon, thinking I would live longer. Sarah looked around the throne room again. It was quiet except for the sound of flickering lights and dripping blood. If this was a trap, she was already caught. How do I know you're telling the truth? The queen smiled weakly. You do not. You must choose to trust me, the same way I chose to trust your people when I asked for peace. Sarah picked up the armor gloves from the dead guard. They were heavier than she expected and still warm from the alien's body heat. If I do this, if I try to help you, what are the chances you'll survive? Very small. What are the chances I'll survive? Even smaller. Sarah put the gloves on. They were too big for her human hands. Well, those are better odds than my colonies have if I do nothing. The queen watched as Sarah picked up her plasma torch and began adjusting its power settings. Human, why are you doing this? Really? Sarah looked up from her work. Because someone has to. And because you're right. Humans are good at working together, even with people who used to be enemies. Maybe it's time to show your people what that looks like. Sarah finished connecting wires from her plasma torch to the alien armor gloves. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. She was excited. This was the kind of impossible problem she loved to solve. This is crazy, she muttered to herself. But crazy might work. Human, Queen Volterith whispered. What is your name? Sarah looked up from her work. Commander Sarah Chun. Sarah Chun, if you die trying to save me, I will make sure your people know you died with honor. I'm not planning to die today. Your Majesty. Sarah tested the electrical connection. Sparks jumped between her fingers and the gloves. But thank you. She stood up and activated her plasma torch. The device hummed with power. Electricity flowed through the wires into the alien gloves. They began to glow softly with blue light. It's working, Sarah said. The gloves are powered. How long will your device last? Sarah checked the power indicator. Maybe 5 minutes. 10, if I'm lucky. That is not very long. Then we better work fast. Sarah walked toward the throne. I'm going to touch your arm first. Just for a second. If the gloves work, I'll try to stop the bleeding. The queen nodded weakly. Be very careful. Even with protection, too much contact could overload your device. Sarah reached out slowly. Her heart was beating fast. One mistake and she would be dead. Her gloved hand moved closer to the queen's arm. Wait, the queen said. There is something you should know about the information you need. Tell me while I work. Sarah's fingers were inches from the alien skin. The attack plans are not just about your colonies. The generals want to attack Earth directly. They have a weapon that can destroy your entire planet. Sarah's hands stopped moving. What kind of weapon? A virus, biological. It will kill all humans, but leave your world safe for us to take. When? 7 days. They need time to position their ships around Earth's defenses. Sarah's mind raced. 7 days to warn Earth. 7 days to prepare defenses. But first, she had to save the queen and get the detailed information. She reached out again and lightly touched the queen's arm. Blue electricity jumped between them, but the gloves held. Sarah didn't die. The power from her plasma torch was working. I can touch you, she said with relief. Yes, but be quick. I can feel your device getting weaker. Sarah looked at the queen's wounds more carefully now. The injuries were deep and bleeding badly, but they weren't in vital areas. If she could stop the bleeding, the queen might live. She pulled out her emergency medical supplies. The bandages were made for humans, but they might work on aliens too. Sarah pressed them against the worst wound. The queen gasped with pain. That hurts. Sorry, but the bleeding is slowing down. Sarah worked quickly. She used all her bandages to cover the wounds. The queen's blue blood soaked through the white material, but it was working. The bleeding was stopping. Your body temperature is still dropping, Sarah said, checking her scanner. You need heat. Zephyrians need electrical warmth, not regular heat. Our bodies work differently. Sarah looked at her plasma torch. The power indicator was already down to half. But maybe she could use it differently. What if I gave you some of the electrical power directly? Not through touch, but through the air. That is very dangerous. Too much electricity will stop my heart. Too little will do nothing. How much do you need? The queen was quiet for a moment, thinking. I do not know. No one has ever tried this before. Sarah smiled. Good. I like being first. She adjusted her plasma torch to its lowest setting. Instead of cutting metal, it would produce a small electrical field. She held it near the queen's chest, not touching. Tell me if this feels right, Sarah said. She activated the device. Blue sparks jumped from the torch to the queen's body. The electrical patterns on her skin became a little brighter. More, the queen whispered. I need more. Sarah increased the power. The queen's skin began to glow more brightly. Her breathing became easier. That's better, the queen said. I can feel my strength returning. But Sarah's plasma torch was running out of power fast. The indicator showed only 2 minutes left. We need to get the information now, Sarah said. Show me your data core. The queen pointed to a crystal panel next to her throne. Touch it with your gloved hand while I touch it with mine. Our electrical patterns will combine to unlock it. Sarah moved to the panel. She could see complex patterns of light moving inside the crystal. It looked beautiful and alien. Are you ready? The queen asked. Sarah nodded. They both reached out and touched the panel at the same time. The crystal exploded with light. Information flowed across its surface in alien writing. Numbers, star charts, ship positions, timing schedules. Everything Sarah needed to warn Earth. Can you read this? Sarah asked. Some of it? The attack will begin in exactly 7 days. 40 ships will surround Earth. The virus will be released from here. The queen pointed to a spot on the star chart. The main attack fleet is gathering at the edge of your solar system. Sarah's communication device could record the information, but it would take time to decode the alien writing. Time she didn't have. Is there a way to translate this into human language? Yes, but it requires more electrical power than you have left. Sarah looked at her plasma torch. The indicator showed 1 minute of power remaining. What if I gave you all my remaining power at once? Could you translate it then? Maybe, but that much electricity might kill me, and it will definitely destroy your device. You will have no protection after that, but you could get the information to Earth. If I survive, yes. Sarah didn't hesitate. She turned her plasma torch to maximum power and held it against the queen's hand. Electricity flowed between them like lightning. The queen's entire body glowed bright blue. The data core's crystal panel became as bright as a small sun. Information flowed across the surface faster than Sarah could see. The alien writing changed into human letters and numbers. Star charts showed ship positions. Attack plans appeared in English. Then Sarah's plasma torch died. The sudden darkness was shocking. Sarah's gloves stopped working immediately. She was now standing inches from a being who could kill her with a touch, with no protection at all. Did it work? Sarah asked. The queen was breathing hard, but she was alive. Yes, the information is translated and stored in your device. Everything your people need to know. How do you feel? Weak, but alive. The electrical boost helped my body begin healing itself. I think I will survive. Sarah carefully stepped back from the throne. Good, because now I need to get this information to Earth, and you need to contact your loyal ships. Sarah-chan, the queen said quietly. Yes? Thank you. No one of my people would have risked their life the way you just did. We are taught that personal survival is the most important thing. But you showed me something different. Sarah smiled. Humans work better when we work together, even with aliens. I am beginning to understand that. When this is over, when the traitors are defeated, I want to learn more about human cooperation. I'd be happy to teach you, Sarah said. But first, let's stop a war. The queen managed to sit up straighter on her throne. Color was returning to her skin. Yes, let's stop a war. 2 hours later, Queen Veltarath was standing. Her wounds were still bandaged, but the bleeding had stopped completely. Her electrical patterns glowed steadily across her blue skin. Sarah had saved her life. I have contacted my loyal ships, the queen said. Admiral Kethver and his fleet are moving to stop the traitors. But many of my people still believe humans killed me. Sarah was sitting on the steps near the throne, tired but alert. The information we got should help prove what really happened. Perhaps. But my people are not used to believing humans. We have been enemies for so long. Then we'll have to show them something new. The queen looked at Sarah with curiosity. What do you mean? Work together. In public. Show them that humans and Zephyrians can be allies. That is a dangerous idea. Many of my people will see it as betrayal. Sarah stood up and walked to one of the large windows in the throne room. Outside, she could see stars and the distant glow of a nebula. Your Majesty, can I ask you something? Yes. Why did you really want peace with humanity? The real reason. The queen was quiet for a long moment. You will think it is foolish. Try me. I was lonely. The queen's voice was soft. My people cannot touch each other safely. We cannot form close relationships the way humans do. I have ruled for 30 years, and in all that time, I have never had a real friend. I have never felt trust or affection from another being. Sarah turned around to look at her. That sounds terrible. It is how we evolved. We became the strongest species in this part of the galaxy because we were solitary hunters. We learned to depend only on ourselves. But strength alone is not enough anymore. What changed your mind? I studied human behavior during our wars. Your soldiers would risk their lives to save each other, even when it made no tactical sense. Your ships would fight hopeless battles to rescue a few survivors. I could not understand it. And now? The queen looked down at her bandaged wounds. Now I think I do understand. You saved me even though it nearly killed you. You risked everything for someone who used to be your enemy. That kind of loyalty, that kind of trust, it makes you stronger as a species. Sarah walked back toward the throne. It also makes us vulnerable sometimes. Caring about others can be used against us. Yes, the generals planned to use human compassion as a weapon. They knew humans would come to help me. They wanted to capture and torture human rescuers. But it didn't work out the way they planned. No, they underestimated human ingenuity. They thought you would either run away or die trying to help me. They did not expect you to find a way to do both, help me and survive. A soft chime sounded from the queen's throne. She touched a crystal panel and a holographic image appeared in the air. It showed the face of another Zephyrian, this one wearing military armor. My queen, the alien said. I am Admiral Kethver. We have received your transmission about the treason. Are you safe? I am alive, Admiral. A human saved my life. The Admiral's expression changed to shock. A human? My queen, that is impossible. Humans cannot safely touch our people. This one found a way. The queen gestured towards Sarah. Commander Sarah. Chun of the Earth Defense Force risked her life to keep me alive and help me expose the traitors. Sarah stepped into view of the hologram. Admiral, the information your queen provided shows that General Dexmore and his allies plan to attack Earth in 5 days with a biological weapon. We need to work together to stop them. The Admiral stared at Sarah for several seconds. You are really there. Standing next to my queen. Alive. Yes, sir. How is this possible? Sarah smiled. Humans are good at solving problems that seem impossible. The Queen moved closer to Sarah, standing beside her. Admiral, I am giving Commander Chen full authority to coordinate with our forces. She has earned my complete trust. My Queen, this is highly unusual. These are unusual times, Admiral. The traitors want to destroy both our species. We must work together, or we will both fall. The Admiral nodded slowly. Yes, my Queen. What are your orders? For the next hour, Sarah and the Queen worked side by side, planning their response to the rebel attack. They studied star charts, coordinated ship movements, and prepared messages for both Earth and the loyal Zephyrian forces. Sarah was amazed at how well they worked together. The Queen was brilliant at strategy and understood her own people completely. Sarah brought human tactical thinking and knowledge of Earth's defenses. Together they created a plan that neither could have made alone. The rebels have 40 ships, Sarah said, pointing to the holographic display. But they're spread out to surround Earth. If we hit them in 3 groups. Yes, the Queen finished the thought. They will not be able to support each other. My ships can handle the outer ring while your forces deal with the inner group. And the virus? We stop it at the source. General Lexmore as command ship has the bioweapon. If we can destroy it, the whole attack falls apart. They looked at each other and smiled. It felt strange to Sarah, planning a battle with someone who had been her enemy just hours ago. Your Majesty, Sarah said. Can I ask you another question? Of course. What will happen after this is over? Between our people, the Queen thought carefully. I hope we can continue what we started today. Working together. Learning from each other. Even though many of your people won't like it. Especially because they won't like it. Change is hard, Sarah-chan. But sometimes change is necessary to survive. Sarah nodded. My people will have the same problem. Many humans still see Zephyrians as monsters. Then we must show them something different. We must prove that former enemies can become friends. How do we do that? The Queen looked at the bandages on her arms, then at Sarah. We start by telling the truth. About what happened here today. About how a human risked everything to save an alien life. About how 2 species can work together when they choose trust over fear. Sarah felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the ship's heating system. You know, Your Majesty, I think this might actually work. What might work? Peace, real peace. Not just an end to fighting, but actual cooperation. The Queen smiled, and Sarah realized it was the first time she had seen a Zephyrian smile. I hope you are right, Sarah-chan, but it will not be easy. The best things never are. Another chime sounded from the throne. This time, the hologram showed a human face. Admiral Rodriguez from Earth Command. Commander Chun, he said. We received your data transmission about the Zephyrian attack. Are you safe? Yes, sir. And I'm not alone. Sarah gestured to the Queen. Admiral Rodriguez, I'd like you to meet Queen Veltereth of the Zephyrian Empire. The human admiral's eyes went wide. My God, Chen, you actually found her alive. More than that, sir. We're working together to stop the rebels who want to destroy Earth. The Queen stepped forward. Admiral Rodriguez, your Commander Chun saved my life at great personal risk. I propose we combine our fleets to stop the traitors who threaten both our peoples. Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Your Majesty, I think that's the best idea I've heard in years. 6 months after the battle that saved Earth, Commander Sarah Chun stood in the great assembly hall of the Galactic Council Station. Representatives from dozens of species filled the massive room. But all eyes were on the center stage where 2 podiums had been placed side by side. At one podium stood Queen Veltereth, now wearing specially designed robes that allowed her to move freely while protecting others from her electrical field. At the other podium stood Admiral Rodriguez, representing Earth. Between them lay a crystal tablet containing the Enhanced Cooperation Accords, the most important peace treaty in galactic history. Sarah watched from the audience as the Queen prepared to speak. The alien ruler looked different now. Healthier, stronger, but also somehow more open. The rigid formality that had once defined her was gone, replaced by something warmer. 6 months ago, the Queen began, her words translated into dozens of languages. I lay dying in my own throne room, betrayed by those I trusted most. I expected to die alone, as my people always have. But a human chose differently. The Queen's silver eyes found Sarah in the crowd. Commander Sarah Chun could have left me to die. It would have been the safe choice, the logical choice. Instead, she risked a life to save mine, even though we had been enemies. Murmurs ran through the assembly. Many of the alien delegates had never heard this story in detail. That act of compassion did more than save my life, the Queen continued. It showed me something my people had never understood. True strength does not come from standing alone. It comes from choosing to stand together. Admiral Rodriguez stepped to his podium. Your Majesty speaks of human compassion, but what happened that day showed me something equally important about the Zephyrian people. When Queen Veltereth chose to trust a human with her life and her secrets, she took the first step toward a new kind of courage. The Admiral gestured to the crystal tablet. These accords represent more than a peace treaty. They represent a new way of thinking about our differences. Where we once saw weakness in cooperation, we now see strength. Where we once feared our differences, we now celebrate them. Sarah smiled as she remembered the battles that had followed that day on the Queen's ship. The combined human and Zephyrian fleets had caught General Dexmoor's rebels completely by surprise. The traitors had expected to fight humans and loyalist Zephyrians separately. Instead, they faced a coordinated force that used the best tactics from both species. The rebels had been defeated in less than 3 days. General Dexmoor himself had been captured when human Marines and Zephyrian warriors worked together to board his command ship. The bioweapon intended to destroy Earth was safely destroyed, but the real victory hadn't been military. It had been seeing human and alien crews working side by side, learning from each other, building trust that had never existed before. The accords we signed today, the Queen said, placing her gloved hand on the crystal tablet, establish more than trade agreements and defense pacts. They create something new: joint exploration missions, shared research projects, and cultural exchange programs. Admiral Rodriguez placed his hand on the tablet beside hers. For the first time in galactic history, 2 species will explore the unknown together, combining human adaptability with Zephyrian technology to reach places neither could go alone. The crystal tablet began to glow as it recorded their signatures. Sarah felt a sense of pride and wonder as she watched history being made. After the ceremony, Sarah found herself in a smaller reception room with Queen Veltereth and a few other officials. The Queen was wearing special contact gloves that allowed her to shake hands with human diplomats, a sight that still amazed everyone who saw it. "Commander," the Queen said, approaching Sarah, "I have something for you." She handed Sarah a small crystal device that pulsed with soft blue light. "This is a communication crystal, keyed to my personal frequency. Wherever you go in the galaxy, you can reach me directly." Sarah held the crystal carefully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. But why give this to me?" "Because you taught me something about friendship that I want to keep learning. And because I have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" The Queen smiled. "The first joint human Zephyrian exploration mission launches next month. We're going to investigate a signal from outside the galaxy, something no one has ever seen before. I want you to command the human half of the expedition." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Command?" Your Majesty, I'm just a rescue ship commander. You are a problem solver. You are someone who finds ways to do impossible things. And you are someone both species trust. The Queen paused. You are exactly what this mission needs. Who would command the Zephyrian half? Me. Sarah stared at her. You're going yourself? I spent 30 years ruling from a throne room. I think it's time I saw the galaxy up close. The Queen's expression grew more serious. Besides, if humans and Zephyrians are going to work together in deep space, far from home, we need leaders who truly trust each other. And you think we have that trust? Sarah-chan, you once risked your life to save mine when we were still enemies. Now we are allies. If that is not trust, I do not know what is. Sarah looked at the crystal in her hand, then at the Queen. 6 months ago, she had been a simple rescue commander. Now she was being asked to lead humanity's first joint mission with an alien species. What's the signal we're investigating? Unknown. It appears to be artificial, but using technology we don't recognize. It could be an ancient artifact, a message from another galaxy, or something else entirely. Dangerous? Almost certainly. The Queen's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Which is why we need the best problem solver in 2 species to figure it out. Sarah laughed. You know, Your Majesty, 6 months ago I would have said this was impossible. And now? Now I think impossible just means we haven't figured out how to do it yet. The Queen extended her gloved hand. Sarah took it without hesitation. A handshake between species that had once meant instant death. Partners? The Queen asked. Partners, Sarah agreed. 3 weeks later, the joint exploration ship Unity launched from Earth orbit. Half the crew was human, half Zephyrian. Sarah stood on the bridge next to Queen Valtereth, watching the stars ahead. Course set for the outer galactic rim, reported Lieutenant Martinez, who had volunteered for the mission. Unknown signal bearing 127 Mark 45. Take us out, Sarah ordered Dot as the ship jumped to hyperspace. Sarah thought about the long journey that had brought them to this moment. It had started with a simple choice, to help someone in need. Even when it seemed impossible, Dot. Now the choice was taking them to places no one had ever seen, with allies who had once been enemies. Seeking answers to questions no one had ever asked. What do you think we'll find out there? The Queen asked quietly. Sarah watched the stars blur past the viewport. I don't know. But whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. The Queen nodded. Together. Yes, I think I like that word. Behind them, 2 species continued their work, building something new from the ashes of old hatred. And ahead of them, the unknown waved with possibilities neither humans nor Zephyrians could imagine alone. The war was over. The alliance had begun. And Sarah-chan, who had once whispered to a dying queen that she wouldn't let her die alone, was now exploring the galaxy beside a living friend. Some impossible things. She had learned, just needed the right person.